Right now, at this exact moment, there is a voice inside your head shaping your future. It is deciding whether you take action or stay stuck. It is deciding whether you feel confident or insecure. It is deciding whether today becomes progress or just another day of overthinking. Most people never question that voice, they just obey it, and that is why they feel trapped inside their own minds. I have spent years studying mindset, behavior, and the patterns that separate people who grow from people who stay stuck. And here is what I have learned. Your circumstances matter, but your interpretation of those circumstances matters more. Two people can face the same problem. One becomes stronger, the other becomes bitter. The difference is not luck, it is thinking. If you feel overwhelmed, doubtful, negative, or mentally tired, this is for you. Not because something is wrong with you, but because nobody taught you how to train your mind. We are taught how to read and write. We are taught how to work, but we are not taught how to manage our thoughts, and unmanaged thoughts quietly control everything. So today, we are going to rebuild your mindset step by step. Not with unrealistic promises, not with fake positivity, but with practical mental habits that you can actually apply starting today. Let us begin with the most powerful place in your life, your inner conversation. From the moment you wake up, your mind starts talking. It comments on your schedule. It reacts to messages. It predicts outcomes. It reminds you of past mistakes. That voice can be supportive or destructive, and most people do not even notice which one they're listening to. Imagine this. You wake up and remember an important task. Immediately, your mind says, "This is going to be stressful. I'm not ready. What if I mess up?" You haven't even started yet, but your body already feels tense. Your energy drops. That is the power of internal language. Now, imagine a different response. You wake up and think, "This might be challenging, but I'll handle it step by step." Same situation, different thought, completely different emotional state. The first skill you must develop is awareness. Start observing what your mind says during small moments. When someone disagrees with you, what is your first thought? When you make a mistake, what sentence appears inside your head? When you see someone more successful, what story do you tell yourself? Do not judge the thoughts, just notice them, because you cannot change what you do not notice. Here's something important. Thoughts repeated often become beliefs, and beliefs quietly guide your decisions. If you keep telling yourself that you are not capable, you will hesitate more. If you keep telling yourself that you always fail, you will avoid trying. Over time, you will think life is confirming your belief, but in reality, your belief shaped your behavior. So what do? You interrupt and replace. You do not need to silence your mind. That is unrealistic, but you can correct it. When your mind says, "I'm terrible at this," respond with, "I'm still improving at this." When it says, "I always mess things up," respond with, "I'm learning what works and what does not." That small shift may feel artificial at first, but repetition rewires thinking patterns. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone you care about. If your friend failed an exam, you wouldn't say, "You're hopeless." You would say, "You can prepare better next time." Give yourself that same respect. Let me share a short example. There was a student who wanted to improve his English speaking skills. Every time he tried to speak, he thought, "People will laugh at my accent." Because of that thought, he spoke less. Because he spoke less, he improved slowly. That slow improvement then confirmed his fear. But when he changed his internal sentence to, "Every time I speak, I get better," something shifted. He started practicing daily. Within months, his confidence grew. The situation did not change first, his thinking did. Your mind believes what you repeat. Now, let's talk about negative thinking patterns, because negativity is rarely just one thought, it's usually a loop. Overthinking is one of the most common loops. You replay one conversation again and again. You imagine worst-case scenarios without evidence. You build emotional reactions to things that haven't even happened. Your body reacts to imaginary danger. Another pattern is constant comparison. You scroll online and see someone achieving something, immediately your mind says, "I'm behind, I'm late, I'm not good enough." But what you see is a highlight, not the full story. Comparison steals focus from your own progress. There is also the habit of exaggeration. One mistake becomes, "I ruin everything."
One rejection becomes, "Nobody values me." That is not reality. That is emotional storytelling. So how do you break these loops? You question them. When a negative thought appears, pause and ask, is this completely true? What evidence supports this? Am I ignoring another perspective? Often you will realize the thought is not a fact, it is a fear. Writing helps. When you put your worries on paper, they lose some of their emotional intensity. They become sentences instead of storms inside your head. Action also breaks negativity. Fear grows in inactivity. If you are afraid of public speaking, thinking about it won't build confidence. Practicing in small, safe situations will. Action creates evidence. Evidence builds belief. Let me tell you about someone who struggled with job interviews. Every time he had an interview, he told himself, "I'm bad at interviews." That belief created anxiety. During interviews, he spoke nervously. After several rejections, he felt confirmed. Instead of quitting, he decided to record himself answering common questions. He noticed his weak areas and improved them. After practicing consistently, his performance improved. The key shift was moving from self-judgment to skill development. Now, let's move to daily mental habits, because mindset is not changed in one emotional moment. It is shaped in small, repeated behaviors. Your morning matters more than you think. The first few minutes after waking up are mentally sensitive. If you immediately check stressful messages or social media comparisons, you program your brain for tension. Instead, take a few minutes to set intention. Tell yourself how you want to show up: calm, focused, patient, capable. Gratitude is another powerful practice, not because it magically removes problems, but because it trains attention. When you regularly identify things that are working in your life, your brain becomes better at spotting stability instead of only threats.
Physical movement supports mental clarity. You do not need extreme workouts. Even a short walk can reset mental tension. When your body feels active, your thinking becomes sharper. Learning daily also protects positivity. Growth creates hope. When you are improving a skill, reading something useful, or practicing something meaningful, your brain associates effort with progress. Now let us talk about problems, because positivity is tested during difficulty, not comfort. When something goes wrong, your first reaction determines the emotional direction. If your immediate thought is, "This is unfair and everything is ruined," stress multiplies. If your first thought is, "This is difficult but manageable," your brain starts searching for solutions. Problems are uncomfortable teachers. They reveal weak skills, they test patience, they expose emotional triggers, but they also build resilience. Think about someone who loses a job unexpectedly. At first, there is shock and fear. That is natural. But after the initial reaction, there are two paths. One path is constant blame and hopelessness. The other is reflection and adjustment, updating skills, expanding networks, exploring new directions. Many successful careers began with an unwanted ending. Challenges are temporary phases, not permanent identities. Mental strength is built through response control. You cannot control every event, but you can control how long you stay stuck in reaction. When emotions rise, pause before speaking. When anger appears, delay decisions. Stability protects your future. Patience is another overlooked strength. Many people lose motivation because results are slow, but real transformation is gradual. Small improvements compound over time. If you focus only on immediate outcomes, you will feel discouraged. If you focus on daily consistency, you will feel grounded. Stepping outside your comfort zone strengthens confidence. Each time you do something slightly uncomfortable, your tolerance for fear increases. Avoiding discomfort keeps you fragile. Facing it carefully builds durability. Now let us discuss protection. Your mind absorbs influence constantly. News, conversations, online content, opinions. If you consume negativity all day, Expecting to feel positive is unrealistic. Be intentional about what you allow into your attention. Stay informed, but do not overload yourself with constant crisis. Curate your digital environment. Follow content that educates and inspires rather than content that triggers comparison and outrage. Limit exposure to people who constantly complain without seeking solutions. You do not need to argue or judge them, just create boundaries. Energy is contagious. Silence is also powerful. A few minutes without input allows your thoughts to settle. In quiet moments, you notice patterns you usually ignore. Near the end, I want to share another short story. A young woman wanted to start a small online business. She had ideas but kept delaying. Her mind repeatedly said, "What if it fails? What will people think?" Instead of arguing with every fear, she made one rule. Every day she would take one small action, regardless of emotion. Some days it was researching. Some days it was creating content. Some days it was learning marketing basics. Progress was slow, but steady. Months later, she had customers. Not because fear disappeared, but because action continued despite fear. Confidence followed consistency. This is how unshakable mindset is built. Not by eliminating doubt completely, but by moving forward anyway. Finally, let us talk about purpose. When you have direction, negativity loses some power. When you know what you are building toward, temporary setbacks feel like part of a bigger path. Purpose does not need to be dramatic. It can be improving your skills, supporting your family, becoming more disciplined, growing emotionally. Clear direction reduces mental chaos. Optimism means believing improvement is possible, not ignoring difficulty, but trusting growth. When you believe progress is possible, you keep trying. When you stop believing, effort fades. So here's your practical plan starting today. Observe your inner voice. Interrupt negative exaggeration. Replace harsh self-talk with constructive language. Take small, consistent action in areas that scare you. Protect your mental input. Practice gratitude. Build patience, and stay connected to a clear direction. Your life direction is influenced daily by your thought direction. If this message gave you clarity, take a moment to support the channel. Share your biggest takeaway in the comments. Subscribe if you want more practical lessons on building a stronger mindset and a stronger life. And remember, disciplined thinking creates powerful living.